Hello, it's Victoria Pendragon again. Welcome to my alternate reality. I have a friend today, a painting that I wanted to tell you about because of how it got to be. It's a very strange painting for me in that it's surrealistic, and I have never, that I can recall, ever painted a surrealistic piece before. I mentioned before in a previous video that I have a tendency towards melancholy, particularly at transitional times. Well, transitional times for me usually mean that my artwork is shifting direction, or I am shifting direction, one or the other. Regardless of which one it is, I usually feel as if I'm dying. I know that sounds ridiculous, but it has always been so. It's been so at least for as long as I can remember. And the first incident I can recall was in my 20s or so. I've never been afraid of dying, ever. So it's not that I get scared or anything, it's just that I think, oh, I guess this is it. I guess I'm done. Someday I'll catch on, maybe. Probably be dying. But I was in one of those states, and I got an image, as I frequently do. I often get images for paintings during yoga. I often get images for paintings when I'm waking up from sleep or falling asleep, either way. Anyway, I got this image, and I thought, that's really odd. But it was so vivid and so insistent that I began it, all of a kind of innocence. And I just started it and went through with it and finished it and hung it on the wall and said to my husband, look at this. I said, I don't know what to make of it. I don't know what to call it. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it feels like. I don't know. I don't understand it. And I said, but I can't take my eyes off it. And he said, that's really interesting. And he couldn't either. He said he was just sort of fascinated by it. And so there it was. That night, that same night, I was trying to find a book online on a human design book that I wanted by the man who brought through human design. His name is Ra-Uru Hu. And as I've mentioned before anyway, I'm a student of it. And so I tried to find this book. I found what I thought I wanted and received a message back from the website that the book was no longer available. However, she would be happy to provide me, said the woman who was in charge of the site, with some charts based on my birth date. And I wrote back saying, thank you very much, I've got charts on my birth date. I don't really need them. And she said, well, you don't have charts like these. And I said, okay. Send them along, I'll take a look. The website was called Noble Sciences, by the way. And her name is Eleanor Haspel Porter. She's a PhD psychologist, I believe. She sent me these charts. There were 24 of them, or about 24 of them anyway, a lot of pages. And each of the charts I recognized. They were similar to the rave charts that I'm familiar with from human design. There's also a lot of information. Charts for just before birth, just after birth, all around birth, for different reasons. And I thought, this is overwhelming. This is more information than I've ever had on human design about myself, and information I don't think I need particularly. But what I did was what I always do when I have something I don't comprehend, and I have been doing this since the 60s. If I have something I don't understand, I take it in, is what I call it. And in this case, I took each page, looked at it in a holistic way. In other words, I'm taking in the whole page, turn the page. Take in the next page, turn the page. One by one. I went through them all. And when I take things in like that, generally, something happens in sleep, and I end up incorporating whatever it is the body needs to incorporate, and I have information that I didn't know I had when I woke up. And I don't know how it works. I suspect there's something similar going on to sleep magic at some intellectual level. At any rate, this was unusual because when I woke up in the morning, the first thing I said to myself was, I know how to use the I Ching. And I know how to use the I Ching. I mean, I knew prior. I never really resonated with it. I had come across the I Ching in the 60s, and you were supposed to, it said, cast yarrow sticks. Well, nobody has yarrow sticks anymore. So they told you to use pennies and use heads and tails instead of short and long yarrow sticks. And that never really resonated with me. Plus, the I Ching itself I had difficulty with early on. It's very metaphorical. It doesn't, unlike a tarot card which says, if you get this card, it means blah, blah, blah. When you get the I Ching reading, you get a whole story, and you kind of have to extrapolate from that story how on earth that could possibly relate to the situation you're in. So I never really warmed up to it, and yet I was absolutely fascinated by it. And I would purchase a copy, read through it, give it away. Purchase a copy, read through it, donate it to somebody. I couldn't let it go, and yet I couldn't get a hold of it. So to wake up and say, I know how to do the I Ching was just odd. And I went into the kitchen, and I found some bamboo sticks that I had from, heaven only knows what, I suppose they might have been for making those things that you put meat and vegetables on and cook. But I thought, this is perfect. And I made them into sticks that I could cast, and I grabbed a copy of the 4 or 5 I Ching that I still have, and I sat down and I cast the I Ching, and I got one called Union, which is about coming together. And somehow, from looking at these charts and human design as a base, one of its bases, because it comes from many different aspects to get to human design, is the hexagrams of the I Ching. Human design has what they call gates, and each of the gates is one of the hexagrams of the I Ching, which Watson and Crick stumbled across in 1985. If they translated the hexagrams of the I Ching into binary language, turns out to be the genetic code. So it's no wonder I was fascinated. And it's no wonder this painting preceded that. This painting that I had no idea what it was about or why it existed. And I called the painting as soon as I realized what was going on and sort of got out of my I Ching trance, caught sight of this baby. I was like, Satori. It's a breakthrough. It's a breakthrough. And that painting came to me like a flag waving. It's a breakthrough. And indeed, it's a huge breakthrough. And I am now embarked on painting the I Ching. And I am casting the sticks to get the painting that comes next. Everything came together. So it's just such a strange little painting, and I decided it wouldn't be for sale. So I'm just keeping it. A reminder of so many aspects of my life. I love being God's idiot. It's one of my favorite parts of life. And I love you all for listening and watching. Thank you. I love you. I wish you well.